Okay, well, West Ham are winless in their first two matches in the championship, and I need to overreact. Obviously, West Ham had a ton of high expectations to run away with the championship this season. A lot of people saw them as going over 100 points. And look, this is a team that on paper is clearly good enough to do that. When it comes to a team that gets relegated from the Premier League, I don't think they could have possibly had a better summer in terms of not only the players that they've retained, but the players that they've brought in as well. You look at their squad and look, this wasn't a team that got picked clean when they got relegated this past year. They did lose Crescencio Somerville to the Saudis, but they were able to retain a good amount of their Premier League core. And of course, Jared Bowen deciding to stay was a big factor in the high expectations behind West Ham this year. This is a guy that could very easily be playing in the Champions League this season. So clearly a massive, massive get for them that he decided to stay. Initial thoughts, I don't believe this is a quality issue. I believe it's an intensity issue. And I'll start with the fixtures. I'll be honest, one thing that I underestimated was the change in scheduling. And this is the one area where I think retaining a ton of Premier League players might actually work against them. You play more matches in the championship, so not only are you starting earlier, but this is a team that wasn't in Europe last season, so they got used to playing one game a week. Now, add on top of that, you have a disappointing first result against Burnley earlier in the week, and now you very quickly have to pick yourself up and go again on the weekend, which this team clearly was not prepared to do. Another thing that's also become really clear from these first two matches is that West Ham do not look like a team that was prepared to be hunted, which, to be fair, is something that I think a lot of teams struggle with when they get relegated from the Premier League to the Championship. More often than not, you played a ton of your last season in the Prem without the ball, and now you're the team that's expected to take the match to the opponent every week, which I think can be a tough change psychologically. When you're in the championship, the teams in your rear view are never as far away as they look, which is why I think the goals they conceded against Charlton today are such a good microcosm for where a lot of West Ham's problems have been so far. All right, so taking a look at this first goal here, Charlton are going to win a throw-in down the touchline, and they're going to use it as an opportunity to get the ball in the box with a long throw-in from number 14, Sonny Carey here. What just immediately jumps out at me is that we need to have a better idea of who we're playing against here. Last season, Charlton scored 18 of their 44 goals from set plays. That was sixth most in the championship. And to put that in further perspective, last season, 35% of Arsenal's goals came from set pieces. Charlton finished at 41%. So in my opinion, that's on Nuno. I think we just got to have a better idea of where the danger's coming from here. Last season, Charlton's manager, Nathan Jones, even went on record talking about how reliant on set plays they were. And when we watch this goal play out here in a second, you'll see that Charlton have brought their big guys up from the back here, but there isn't going to be any real movement. All they're trying to do is throw the ball into a dangerous area and trying to make something happen, which is exactly what they do. We have the West Ham center back, Mavropanos here, who went on to have a pretty brutal day. He's going to have two opportunities to clear the ball after he lets it bounce in the box, which if you've played football at any level, you know that that just absolutely can't happen. So let's go ahead and watch it play out here. So yeah, first of all, it needs to be said, that's a great finish from Lloyd Jones, the Charlton captain. But as you can see, we're just not ready to deal with the long throw there. And if you're Nuno, I think you need to have your team better prepared to deal with that. At the same time, Mavropanos also needs to be way more aware of what's behind him, which, as you'll see in the next play, became a theme for this match. All right, so we got our next play here. I think this play is just the perfect encapsulation of West Ham's first two matches back in the championship. I don't want to dogpile too much on Mavropanos here, but I do think this play shows a lack of urgency that Nuno needs to fix in the squad before it's too late. So to set the scene here, ball's played forward to Lee Byrne here for Charlton. Mavropanos wins it back. He's already taken a touch forward upfield, and he's got a couple choices here. First of all, I just think it's important to point out the distance here between Lee Byrne and Mavropanos. I mean, Lee Byrne's essentially dragging him back, right? So the fact that Mavropanos thinks that he has enough time to take another touch, look upfield, and I don't know what else he was planning to do with the ball, but I think it just kind of shows a lack of understanding for where West Ham are. You know, you're just not going to have that much time, whether you're in the Premier League, the Championship. I feel like most levels of professional football, you're just not going to have the time to do what Mavropanos is trying to do here. I will say, in his defense, you could make the case that Kyle Walker-Peters isn't making himself super available here. You could definitely say that he could be occupying more of this space here to make that ball a little bit easier. But either way, I still think a former Premier League player should be able to play a ball into this space. It's also not super obvious in this frame, but Kyle Walker-Peters actually points backwards, telling Mavropanos to play the ball to his other center back. Instead, Mavropanos thinks he has way more time than he actually does. And again, you know, you think about their game against Burnley, you know, they go 2-0 up and then they get pegged back there. This West Ham team right now is just, they're getting walked down. Call me crazy, but I still think West Ham are going to be fine. I think they're going to get automatic promotion. They've still got a ton of guys in that team that have very recent championship experience. You look at them bringing in Solomon, which I thought was a really good get for them this summer. They also brought in Peru on loan, which was fantastic as well. This is a guy that's a former championship Golden Boot winner. Got himself on the score sheet today, but they're going to need more, not only from their back line, who, as we just saw, have conceded a ton of very avoidable goals to start off the season, but they're also going to need more from Nuno. I think it was really unfortunate how things ended up for Nuno at Forest, but now he's in a position where he could bring a team of West Ham's pedigree back into the Premier League. So I think he's got a real opportunity here. Hey, everyone. Thanks for making it all the way to the end of the video. If you liked what you saw, leave a like, subscribe, leave a comment, and you can listen to full episodes of the podcast wherever you get them. YouTube, Spotify, Apple Podcasts. The links are all in the description below. Take care.